If your tomatoes taste like nothing, if your seeds refuse to grow back the same the second year, if every spring you find yourself buying the exact same packets all over again, there is a reason, and almost nobody is telling you the truth about it. It is not your soil, it is not your climate, it is not your thumb. It is a quiet shift in how the seeds themselves were designed, and most gardeners never even notice it happening. For thousands of years, growing food meant saving a handful of seeds at the end of the season and planting them again the next spring. That single act, saving seed, is the oldest agricultural technology on Earth, older than the plow, older than irrigation. And in the span of a single human lifetime, most home gardeners have quietly stopped doing it. Today I want to show you the kind of seed that Europe very nearly forgot, the kind your great-grandparents grew without thinking twice, and why holding on to it may matter more in the years ahead than at any point in living memory. I want to be honest with you from the very first minute, because there is a lot of fear and exaggeration online about this topic. You may have seen videos claiming that the European Union is about to patent ordinary seed varieties, or that some secret $1 vault will let you escape new laws. That is not true, and I am not going to insult you with it. What is actually happening is more subtle, and once you understand it clearly, it is far more useful to you as a gardener. So let me give you the real picture, step by step. In Europe, an ordinary plant variety cannot be patented. That is genuinely the law. Under the European Patent Convention, plant varieties as such are excluded from patents, and are instead protected by something called plant variety rights, which work more like a breeder's registration. So nobody is going to patent the humble tomato out from under you. But here's the part that is real, and that serious organizations are genuinely worried about right now. While whole varieties cannot be patented, individual traits inside plants increasingly can be, especially traits introduced through newer breeding techniques. And throughout this year, the European Parliament has been debating exactly how far those trait patents should be allowed to go. Recent opinion surveys across Germany, France, Italy, the Netherlands, and Poland found that roughly 8 in 10 people are opposed to patents on seeds. That is not a fringe concern. That is most of the continent. So the honest headline is not that Europe forgot to ban a seed vault. The honest headline is that Europe is right now deciding how much of our shared seed heritage stays freely in the hands of ordinary growers. And while that gets decided in committee rooms, there's something practical you can do in your own garden this season, something completely within your control. You can grow the kind of seed you are allowed to save, replant, and pass on forever, with no permission from anyone. Before I go further, let me stop for one moment, because this is the heart of it. Everything I am about to explain, which seeds to choose, how to tell them apart on the rack, and how to begin your own small seed library, I have gathered into a single practical guide for the people who follow this channel. It walks you through the 3 things that are genuinely hard to show inside a short video. First, how to read a seed packet and identify in seconds which seeds will come back true and which will not. Second, a simple beginner's method for saving seed from the 5 easiest vegetables, the ones that almost never go wrong. Third, a starter list of open pollinated and heirloom varieties suited to a cooler northern climate, the ones worth building a personal collection around. If you would like the complete guide, the link is waiting for you in the description below and in the pinned comment. Now let me get back to the most important question, the one everything depends on. What kind of seed can you actually save? There are really only 3 words you need to understand, and once you do, you will never look at a seed rack the same way again. The first word is hybrid, very often written as F1 on the packet. A hybrid seed comes from deliberately crossing 2 carefully chosen parent plants. The first generation is wonderfully uniform, vigorous, often disease-resistant. Seed companies are very good at this, and there's nothing sinister about it. But here's the catch that affects you directly. If you save seed from a hybrid plant and sow it next year, the offspring scatter. They split back into the grandparents, all different sizes, flavors, and habits, usually for the worse. This is simple genetics, not a conspiracy. It is why anyone growing hybrids has to buy fresh seed every single season. The company that created the hybrid is the only one who knows the exact parent combination, so they remain the only reliable source. That is the quiet dependence almost no gardener notices. You're not doing anything wrong. The seed was simply never designed to come back. The second word is open pollinated. These are varieties pollinated the natural way, by bees, by wind, by insects, by rain. And their great gift is this: save their seed, sow it next spring, and it comes back true to type, the same plant, year after year. Open pollinated varieties are also genetically diverse, which means that over several seasons they slowly adapt to your exact soil and your exact weather. Growers who save open pollinated seed often report that little by little their plants get hardier and more productive in their particular garden. You're not just growing food, you're quietly breeding a strain that belongs to your patch of ground and nowhere else. The third word is heirloom. An heirloom is simply an open pollinated variety with history, one that has been saved and handed down within a family or a region, usually for at least 50 years, sometimes for centuries. Every heirloom is open pollinated, so every heirloom can be saved. But not every open pollinated variety is old enough to be called an heirloom. Heirlooms are the ones that carry stories, the deep flavor, the unusual colors, the varieties that a supermarket would never bother to stock because they do not ship well or store for weeks. And this is exactly where that lost flavor went. Modern hybrids were often bred for shipping, shelf life, and uniform appearance, and somewhere along the way, taste quietly slipped down the list. That disappointing, watery supermarket tomato is not bad luck. It is a variety doing precisely what it was designed to do, which was never to taste extraordinary. So when people say food used to taste better, they are not only being nostalgic. In many cases, they are remembering open pollinated and heirloom varieties that have simply faded from the shelves. Now, why does any of this matter beyond flavor and a little saved money? Because every time an old open pollinated variety is dropped from a catalog and replaced by a hybrid, a thread of genetic diversity is quietly lost. Each variety carries its own resistance to certain pests, certain diseases, certain extremes of heat or cold. When that diversity narrows, our whole food system becomes more fragile, more dependent on a handful of commercial lines. A backyard gardener saving an old variety is not doing something small. They are keeping a living library alive, one packet at a time. This is precisely why the European seed debate matters, and why those 8 in 10 people are uneasy. It is not about a vault or patent on your tomato. It is about who gets to hold the keys to the diversity that feeds us. And the quietly powerful answer is that you can hold a set of those keys yourself, starting this very season in your own soil. Here is how to begin, and it is genuinely simpler than most people fear. Start with the easy ones, the vegetables that almost save themselves. Tomatoes, beans, peas, lettuce, and peppers are the gentlest place to learn because they mostly pollinate themselves and rarely cross with their neighbors. Choose an open pollinated or heirloom variety, never an F1 hybrid if your goal is to save seed. Let 1 or 2 of your best, healthiest plants go fully to seed instead of harvesting everything for the kitchen. Take seed only from the strongest plants, the ones with the best flavor and the best health, because that is how you gently improve your strain each year. Dry the seed thoroughly, label it clearly with the variety and the year, and store it somewhere cool, dark, and dry. Most vegetable seed, stored well, stays viable for several years, so even a single good season builds a real cushion. And just like that, without any vault, without any permission, you've begun your own seed library. Next year you sow from your own collection, and the dependence on buying the same packets every spring quietly falls away. That is real sovereignty, the unglamorous, practical kind, the kind that actually lasts. So let me bring this back to where we started. Europe did not forget a magic seed vault, and no one is about to patent the tomato in your garden. What is real is that the diversity of our seed is genuinely at a crossroads, decided partly in distant committees, and partly in gardens exactly like yours. You cannot vote in every one of those rooms, but you can plant open pollinated seed, save it, and keep an old variety alive with your own 2 hands. If this way of thinking about your garden speaks to you, the place to keep learning it is right here. Subscribe to this channel, and we will keep uncovering the quiet, practical knowledge that the Modern Garden Center tends to leave out. Grow something this season that can grow itself again next year. That is where it all begins.